Another round of applause for Colonel Bass. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with each and every one of you and to share some thoughts and perspectives about leadership. I don't know how much you know about my background, but I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Grew up there. I started high school junior ROTC back in 1976. So I'm 58, so in case y'all trying to figure out math. I went to the University of Tennessee, graduated from there as a commissioned lieutenant in the Army. Spent 22 years in the Army. Yes, I've been in combat. I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Have I been shot at? Yes, I've been shot at. Did I shoot back? Yes, that's why I'm here, and the other person may not be here, okay? But I want to just have some thoughts with you, and then we're going to open it up for questions. And I will tell you this, if I see anybody's eyes getting a little droopy, like you're gonna fall asleep, I'm gonna walk up to you, real sneakily, and I'm gonna drop you for push-ups. Because I figure if a 58-year-old guy could wake up at 5:30 this morning, put in 4 miles, 100 push-ups, 100 crunches, and I can be awake, you can be awake. How about that, okay? All right. What do I want to talk to you all about real quick? Well, how many folks here know about Alexander the Great? Y'all should read up about Alexander the Great. Incredible young man. Conquered the known world by the time he was 33 years of age. Alexander the Great had an incredible quote. And this quote was that fortune favors the bold. Fortune favors the bold. And when I was a major in the United States Army, I was in a helicopter assault unit, artillery unit, and our motto was be bold. And if there's anything that I can say to young Christians in this day and age in the United States of America, is that you need to be bold. You cannot be afraid of your faith. You cannot cower. You cannot run away. You cannot surrender. You cannot acquiesce. You don't compromise your Christian faith and your beliefs. So what I want to do is share with you 5 verses that are very near and dear to my heart about being bold, about being courageous. Last night I shared with the grown-ups the story of Joshua. Joshua is my favorite military leader in the Bible. Joshua was told by God 3 times, be strong and of good courage. Lord thy God shall never leave you nor forsake you. And so I would always tell young people, go back and read the book of Joshua. Read about what he went through. And read his emboldened stance. Because he was given an incredible mission. He was told to take the entire multitude of Israel across the River Jordan into the Promised Land. And think about this. He had to follow Moses. But he was bold in doing it. First verse I want to share with you, if you want to write this down. John 16 and 33. In John 16 and 33 it says, these things I have spoken to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. One of the things I think for young people and what we see today, this whole opioid crisis and young people taking their lives, you know, you're going to have tough times in life. It's going to happen to you. But too often, young people decide that I can't make it, I can't do it. But see, the God that is in you is greater than the God that is in the world. And you have to truly believe that. Because if you don't believe it, then your faith is not as real and as strong as it should be. And so when you come up to these tribulations, when you come up to these hard times, when you face these challenges, you just take a step back, take a deep breath and say, I got this. You know why you got this? Because God's got this. And he sent his son to deliver you from all of these things. So take the comfort in knowing that you're going to have trials, you're going to have tribulations. But the God that you serve has already overcome all of this. So you can go forth with boldness. You can go forth with faith. And speaking of such, going over to Romans This is probably one of my most favorite. In Romans chapter 5, verses 3 through 5, it says, "And not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, toughness, and perseverance, proven character, and proven character, hope." You know what the real definition of character is? I've always shared this with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines that I serve with. I share it with my two daughters. I have two girls, 26 and 22. Character is doing what is right when no one's watching. It's okay when the teacher's around, all the grown-ups around, the parents or whatever, but real character is when you're off alone by yourself and you make those right decisions, even when you face these tribulations. And hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who is given to us. Don't put your hope in man. Man don't let you down. You put your hope in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But the thing I want to get you to understand, we have a saying in the military, is that you move to the sound of the guns. When the guns are going off, a good soldier does not retreat. They find out where the fire is coming from, and they move towards it. If you're bold, you're going to go out there and look for the trials. You're going to look for the tribulations. Because in doing so, it's going to make you stronger. I shared last night a great quote from the third president of the United States of America, the person that wrote our Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson said, "In matters of style, swim with the current." It's easy to swim with the current. It's easy to do like everybody else is doing, because then you're accepted, right? Then society says, well, it ain't cool to be, Christian. It ain't cool to go to church or whatever. But Thomas Jefferson said, in matters of substance, stand like a rock. Let me tell you why it's so important for you guys to stand like a rock. Because in these days and times when so many young people are going through trials and tribulations, they're looking for an example. What does it talk about in Matthew chapter 6, verse 13 through 16? They're looking for the salt of the earth. They're looking for the light. They're looking for someone that's different. They're looking for someone that, you don't get stressed out. So many young people get stressed out when their cell phone, loses power or something like that. What they're looking for are young people who are going to be leaders. That's why we talked about the subject last night. Here is where you forge leaders. And you know how leaders are forged? Through toughness, through trials and through tribulations. How do you purify steel? How? Anybody? Heat. Pressure. I don't want you to be the person that runs away from the challenges, runs away from the trials. It says in Isaiah 54:17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." What did I just say in John 16:33? "Be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world." If you're going to be bold, and be bold in Christ, you don't run away. You go forward. Romans 8:28. "And we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose." Rick Warren wrote a book called A Purpose-Driven Life. Y'all should read that book. But let me tell you about a quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain said this: "There are two most important days in your life. The first one is the day that you were born. The second one is the day you find out why. Your purpose." When did I find out? Well, February 7, 1961. That's my first day. When did I find out my second day? as a young lieutenant in the United States Army, a paratrooper. And I got a chance to go through a place that not too many people talk about anymore. I was in West Berlin doing training. We got one day to go through a thing called Checkpoint Charlie. Any young people know what Checkpoint Charlie is? Anyone? All right, history teacher, you got some lessons. Checkpoint Charlie is the place where you went from liberty and freedom and you went over and you saw tyranny, you saw despondency, you saw despair. Back a long time ago, there was a thing called the Iron Curtain that separated us from communism and socialism. And I got a chance to go on the other side of that wall, to East Berlin. And in East Berlin, you didn't see freedom. In East Berlin, you saw pothole streets, you saw bullet holes still in buildings. In East Berlin, you saw two types of cars, a 4-door and a 2-door, in 3 types of colors, all ugly. You went into the grocery stores, you went into the shopping malls, you didn't see anything. You looked at people face to face. And they couldn't look at you. They put their heads down. It was then I knew why I was standing on freedom's frontier. Why I was standing on those ramparts. Just the same as my dad did, fighting in World War II. Just the same as my older brother in Vietnam. Just the same as my nephew right now, who is a major in the Army. 3 combat tours of duty already. You need to find your purpose in life. Every single day I told soldiers, when you wake up, you need to know your task and purpose, your what and your why. If you don't know your what and your why, then you're just walking along and you're an oxygen thief. But God just told you. What did he say? All things work to the good of those who are called according to his purpose. When you know his purpose in life, you don't want to do push-ups, do you? All right, we'll keep your eyeballs open, okay? When you know his purpose in life, you can be bold, okay? What does it say in verse 31? What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? So why won't you be bold? You got all the backing in the world. What does it say in Philippians 4:13? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So why won't you be bold? God needs his church to make a stand today. In Dallas, Texas right now, if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the news, in Dallas, Texas right now, there is a woman that wants to chemically castrate her 7-year-old son. Turn him into a little girl. Now, if you don't understand that level of evil, because God made Adam and Eve, God made man and woman, but all of a sudden, people are trying to usurp God's authority and say that they're the ones in charge, they're the ones in control. They're telling God that he's not even in control of the weather and what is going on in the climate, that it's this thing that man does it, man-made climate change. And if you don't have the boldness to stand up to some of your peers or some of your friends that are saying these things and believing in these things and having biblical truths to back you up, then you're not as bold as you should be. James, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Consider it all joy, my brother, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. How many athletes we got here? Raise your hand. How many athletes we got here? Yeah, look at you. You know why that coach yells at you and tells you got to do another lap, or you got to stay out there and practice even harder, or keep going? What is that coach trying to do? He's trying to push you. He's trying to make you better. He's trying to get you ready for that third quarter, that fourth quarter. He's trying to get you ready for the eighth inning or the ninth inning. He's trying to get you ready for that last lap that you have to do in that 200-meter swim. He's trying to show you that you can overcome that pain, that tribulation, that temporary discomfort so that you can go on and be victorious. See, the young people, let me tell you something in life. You got two choices. You can either be a victor or someone's going to make you a victim. And with Christ Jesus in your life, you ain't a victim. You're a victor. That's why he went to the cross. I think that's what it says in Romans chapter 8, one of those later verses, that you're more than a conqueror. And if you believe that, you can go out and you can be bold. You can face all the trials and tribulations. Think about some of your peers. Today, they'll take their lives. This little ring that I wear on my finger, it's called the #22kill ring. This is my salute hand. This is my trigger finger. And we wear this simple black ring to symbolize the fact that on average per day in the United States of America, 20 to 22 of our veterans are taking their lives. 20 to 22 of our veterans on average per day in the United States of America are taking their lives. Men and women that have gone into combat and faced the enemy, moved to the sound of the guns, then all of a sudden, when they're faced with a different trial, when they're faced with a different tribulation, when they're faced with an unseen enemy, they surrender. They become a victim. They don't see that they can overcome this world. They don't know the trials and tribulations of this life. If they make it through it, it produces perseverance and character and hope. They don't understand that they're trying to be made stronger. And they give up and they quit. How sad is that? If you're living a life where you're not challenged, if you're living a life where you're not facing trials and tribulations, if you're living a life where your faith is not being put online, then you're not going to get stronger. You're not going to become emboldened. And somehow, you're going to miss out on the purpose that God may have for you in your life. Let me close by saying this. 3 million people follow me on Facebook. I have almost 800,000 people that follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. And I get called a lot of names because I make a stand. Do you think that I get upset when every now and then I look down there and I see the comments that call me names like Oreo, sellout, Uncle Tom, house N-word, white man's porch monkey, all because of what I believe in, what I make a stand for? Absolutely not. Because you know why? He that is in me is greater than the idiot trying to call me names. Okay? And furthermore, the idiot that's calling me a name on social media, I just wish that I could meet him one day. Something tells me they wouldn't want to call me a name face to face. But that's the power that you have within you when you say that no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against me I shall condemn. For that is the heritage of those who love the Lord. I'm looking at our future. Like I said, I'm 58. I'm going to soon want to, like, hang it up, chill out a little bit, maybe enjoy life. Nah, that ain't me. That's not. I'm not going to do it. I'll still be riding my motorcycle when I'm 78. Okay? Yeah, I ride a motorcycle, I scuba dive, all that fun stuff. Because I'm going to live life to the fullest. And I'm going to be bold all the way to the end. But at some point in time, how many people here run track? Raise your hand. I love track. I used to coach track. I used to run track. You know, in track you have a thing called relay race, right? You got to pass the baton. And you have to pass the baton within the exchange zone. If you pass it too early, you pass it too late, you're disqualified. At some point in time, I'm going to pass the baton in the exchange zone. But I want to pass the baton to young Christian men and women that are ready to accept that baton, and they're bold. And they're going to continue this race. Continue the race for our Judeo-Christian faith heritage. And continue the race to preserve the greatest nation that the world has ever known. The nation that you call home, these United States of America. All right, God bless you all. What are your questions? Yes, sir. Stand up. Give me your name. What grade you in?
I'm Elijah Meadows, and my question is perseverance the most important thing you learned in the military, or are there other things that you feel that the military taught you?
Sure. Last night I talked about the 5 C's of leadership. Maybe some of the adults here will share that with you in class, but there are 5 C's of leadership. The first one is courage. The second one is competence. The third one is commitment. The fourth one is conviction. And the last one is character. Now I will tell you that what the military taught me is exactly what I tried to tell you all today. That you can overcome anything that you want. Is it scary in the middle of the night to be on the receiving end of an AK-47, an RPG, or a PKM machine gun? Absolutely it is. But you know something? If you trust and believe that I've been trained for this moment, that I can persevere through this, you're going to be all right. And furthermore, if you have put your life into God's hands, you know it's going to be all good. Now, when I was a young lieutenant, my first tour of duty was with an airborne unit in Italy. It was a pretty nice first tour of duty. But the thing is, I was afraid of heights. I was afraid of heights because as a kid growing up, and I don't know how y'all say this word, but down south, I'm from Georgia, we say pecan, okay? The old folks used to make me climb the pecan trees and get the pecans for them so they can make pecan pie, whatever. Sometimes you fall out of pecan trees, and it hurts. So I had this thing about heights and things about climbing, you know? But then all of a sudden I get told that I have to go to an airborne unit, which means I gotta go to airborne school, which means I have to learn how to jump out of airplanes going 135 miles per hour, anywhere from 800 to 2,000 feet in the air with nothing but a parachute. And you know what? When you're a leader, you step up to the plate. And my dad was an World War II veteran. When I told him how nervous I was about going down to Fort Benning, Georgia, going to airborne school, he told me Philippians 4:13. He basically said, boy, you got this. You gotta be a leader. You gotta step up. So that's what the military teaches. And also the military teaches me discipline, which is why I still wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 6 days out of the week, and I get out there, rain, snow, whatever, and I run and work out. And let me tell you something, young people, your health care is your personal responsibility. Let me repeat that again. Your health care is your personal responsibility. Now, what does the Bible tell us? He says that your body is a temple. Your body is a temple to the Lord. And so when I am 58 and I can stand before you all and I try to look somewhat physically fit, that's a way to be an example to others, to say that, look, and I do like Five Guys burgers, okay? I love Five Guys burgers, but I ain't eating the Five Guys burger every day because I know that's not healthy for me, okay? So that's what the military has taught me. 5 C's of leadership, discipline, perseverance, and the ability to know that I can do all things. Anybody else? Yes, sir, young man. What was Iraq and Afghanistan like? Okay? I will tell you about Afghanistan. Afghanistan was an incredibly strange place. In Kabul, Afghanistan, you could watch a brand new tricked out Humvee going down the street. And then it could be followed by a donkey cart. Afghanistan, when you got away from the major cities, I mean, it was really like going back in time. I mean, there were still people, tribals, disputes, people that fight and kill each other over water. But it was tough because there is an ideology out there that does not want and does not believe in individual rights and freedoms. Iraq was completely different from Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, the illiteracy rate is somewhere, national illiteracy rate is somewhere about 75, 76%. What does that mean? 3/4 of that country can't read. We were trying to train the soldiers how to be soldiers, and since they couldn't read training manuals, we had to draw pictures for them. That's how different it is. In Iraq, everyone's a doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever. It was once upon a time the cradle of civilization. Very smart, very educated people. But the one thing that I will tell you about being in Afghanistan, because folks always ask, what's the most memorable thing you have from being in your military career? And I can tell you, seeing young girls in Afghanistan go to school. When you watch those little girls with smiles on their faces, dressed in their cute little uniforms, walking to school, I mean, even still to the day, that brings a tear to my eye. How many of you young girls ever heard of Malala Yousafzai? Raise your hand. Young girls, students here. You're a girl, but not a man. All right, good. Y'all know who Malala Yousafzai is? She is a young girl in Pakistan that was speaking out ardently about little girls being able to get an education. And some Taliban fighters found out about her, got on her school bus, went up, and shot her in the head. Somehow Malala survived. And now she is one of the great advocates for young girls getting a good quality education. See, y'all sitting here today, young people, you just don't understand this incredible blessing that you have, that there are young people in other places in the world, they will never know. They will never experience. You have to be bold in order to stand for it and make sure that you keep it. So that is one of the greatest things that I remember about Afghanistan, is watching those young girls go to school. Those same little girls having acid thrown on them and being shot going to school to try to intimidate them from wanting to go to school. About headmasters, teachers, they were beheaded in their homes in front of their families because the Taliban didn't want anyone to have an education. And only with boldness, courage, character, commitment, conviction can we stand up against evils like that. You know what's weird in that this school was established in 1979, am I right? In 1979, that was when the Soviet Union went and invaded Afghanistan. 1979 was the year that I graduated from high school and I became a freshman at the University of Tennessee. If someone had told me in 1979 that in 2005 I would be in Afghanistan, first of all I would have said, I don't even know where Afghanistan is. But I spent 2.5 years of my life there. For some odd reason, God knew that I would end up in Afghanistan, fighting for young girls and young boys to have an opportunity. You don't know what God has planned for you. But what does it say in Jeremiah 29 and 11? For I know the plans that I have for you. Plans to bring you success and for you to prosper. God's word is powerful. Next. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was wondering, like, with the different, like, positions and careers that you've been in your life, like, was there a moment that you specifically knew that was God's will for your life?
Yeah, I tell you, my dad, and when I was 15 years of age, told me that he wanted me to be the first officer in our family. My dad was a corporal in World War II. My older brother was a lance corporal in the United States Marine Corps. And so, me, when I was going into high school, I joined high school during ROTC. I knew that I wanted to be an officer in the United States Army. And I so respected and honored my dad that I wanted to make that wish come true for him. And on 31 July 1982, my dad stood on my right shoulder, my mom on my left shoulder, and they pinned on my second lieutenant bars at the University of Tennessee. Sadly, my dad, that was the only promotion that he ever saw because he passed away during my first tour of duty. But I live in honor of him every single day. Because, as I said last night, it's about launching leaders. He launched me. I was his arrow that he set flight. So, I will tell you that people don't plan to fail, but sometimes they fail to plan. And so as you're sitting here now, and I know some of y'all say, well, why would I want to do this? Where are you going to be 5 years from now? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Remember that I said, what are the two most important days of your life? Two most important days of your life. That's one. Nope. The day you die ain't important. It's important to you, but it ain't that important. Okay? The day that you were born and the day you help him out. The day you find out why. Your purpose. Don't worry, you'll do push-ups later. But that's what you got to start thinking about. That's what you got to start asking yourself. That's what you got to think about every single day when you show up to school here. And when you leave and go home. Why? Okay? Why am I here? And you can start making a difference right now. In your own little way, in your own little community. That's a purpose-driven life. All right. So that's what I want you to do. Where you want to be 5 years from now? Start thinking about that. Yes, sir.
So,
Hey, nice haircut. It's kind of like mine. So yours, I used to have black hair too.
I got it just last night.
Yeah.
For the banquet. So, we hear a lot about the role of fathers in the home. So I was wondering if there's anything you'd like to say about that, because I think it's really important.
No, absolutely. There's an organization out there called Fathers in the Field. It's a Christian organization out of Colorado because one of the major problems that we're facing in the United States of America right now is fatherlessness. In 1961, when I was born, in the black community, okay, the two-parent household in the black community in 1961 was between 75 and 77%. What's the two-parent household in the black community today? 24%. The family structure has been destroyed in the black community. And when you think about it, look at all the second and third order effects that has brought about. The crime, the drugs, the gangs, I mean, you name it. The out of wedlock births, things of that nature. The lack of responsibility. And so, yes, we need to restore godly fathers back into the home. Because if we don't, we just head down a very terrible road. Now, how did all of this happen? How did all of this happen? Get happen. That's horrible English. How did all of this happen? Go back and read up of the Great Society programs of Lyndon Baines Johnson, United States President. Lyndon Baines Johnson came up with a really goofy, stupid idea. He said that the government will provide a check to a woman that has a child out of wedlock. No matter how many children she has out of wedlock, the government will continue to provide her a check. Except for one caveat, one condition. There cannot be a working man in the home. So guess what has happened? The government has come in and replaced responsible men in the home. Because young ladies are out having children because the government gives them a check. And the government has said you cannot have a responsible man in the home. So therefore, young men have become irresponsible, going out and fathering child after child after child. That's not who we should be. But yet, when we don't have Christians that are bold, Christians that stand up, the next thing you know, the family is destroyed. That's your challenge, young people. To stand up on faith. And stand up and restore. Is that the NSA listening in to us? But we gotta do better. But think about how many young people don't have a dad that was a World War II veteran that challenges them to become an officer. That's a horrible thing. I mean, when you look at ESPN, all right, or any pro sports or whatever, any sports, you know, and the athletes always say, "Hey, Mom, you see how I scored a touchdown?" Why did they say, "Hey, Dad"? Sad state of affairs. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
What's the most impactful thing your dad taught you?
The biggest beat down I ever got from my dad. Biggest beat down. And I mean, he laid me out, Jack. Like Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston and laid me out. My dad grew up down in South Georgia, Cuthman, Georgia, Randolph County. And so, you know, lots of times, weekends, whatever, during the summer especially, we go down there and see Grandpa and spend time down there. And of course, I got to know a lot of the kids down there and everything. Well, one day, I came home to Granddad's house. Dad met me at the door, and without saying a word, laid me out. And when I got up, I was like, "Dad, what did I do?" He said, "You walked home and you didn't respect the people that were sitting on the porches when you walked home." I just walked home. I saw these grown-ups sitting there, and I didn't say, "Good afternoon, ma'am, how you doing, sir," or whatever. My dad said, "You are my representative. You carry my reputation." He said, "Right now," because the folks called and said, "Hey, Buck West, your son is real disrespectful." That was the end of the story. Grown-ups, we should not allow our kids to embarrass us. That's the lesson that I learned. You don't embarrass your mama and your daddy. And what does it say? One of the 10 Commandments? Honor thy father and thy mother. You know what my mom taught me? My mom said, never do something that you don't want to see on the front page of the paper. And never do something where you want your dad to lay you out. But how often do young people, how often do you have that in the back of your mind when you go out? You got to think about those things. And parents, you got to think about that. You know, I said last night, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. Our children are representatives of who we are and how we raise them. And we have to have that constant contact. You know the good thing about this school, because when you think about it, parents, how many hours per day do you spend with your child? As opposed to a teacher or a college professor. So is the teacher and the college professor being consistent with the principles and values that you have raised your child to have? Or they're doing things that are the antithesis of how you've raised your child? So that was the most important lesson that my dad taught me. Respect and honor of your elders and adults. And to this day, I don't care who I am or where I go, until I know your name, I address you as sir and ma'am. That's the lesson that beatdown taught me. And it's still with me today. And it's the lesson that I taught my 2 daughters, that you address people as sir and ma'am. All right, next question. All right, you gonna pick? I'll go right here, and then I go right here, and then I go right there, and I go right there. Go.
How's your military service changed your view on this country, America?
This country, America, has offered me incredible opportunities. A kid born in 1961 in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, in a blacks-only hospital. That's who you have standing before you. And when I went to England and I did some joint exchange operations and assignments with the British Army, and I sat down with some British officers, you know what they said? They said, you know, did you go to West Point? I said, nope. Went to the University of Tennessee. They said, well, was your dad an officer? I said, nope. He was enlisted in World War II. He said, or you come from a rich family? I mean, you landed? I said, nope. Grew up in inner city. Because they couldn't understand that. Because in the British Army, officers are from a gentry and an elite. But here in America, folks, each and every one of you have an incredible equality of opportunity. No matter where you were born, no matter where you come from, you can grow up to be whatever you wish and desire within your own heart and your greatness. And that's what the Bible teaches us. That's what God sent his only begotten Son so that we wouldn't have to worry about sin. We could rise and achieve and be whatever we want, not have to worry about being burdened by sin. So that's what serving this country and being here has meant to me. I've been to 13 different countries, and I've been in 3 different combat zones. There is nothing that beats the United States of America. I'm telling you. You can't find any place better. Which is why people come here. But let me just get you to think about something. How interesting it is that young people are in Hong Kong singing the national anthem and carrying our flag, and then young people here in the United States of America burn our flag. Young people here in the United States of America want to accept and embrace the very thing that young people in Hong Kong are protesting against. The taking away of your individual rights and freedoms. Parents, you got to do a better job. Young people, you got to understand what you have here. There is nothing like an 18-year-old soldier that all of a sudden goes somewhere and sees how great America is. I cannot tell you how many times I saw soldiers, their eyes would light up. And then when they would come back from Iraq, Afghanistan, they had a completely different perspective. When my daughters went to China for 2 months on a little exchange trip, they came back and they were like, Dad, we like America. When they went to Honduras on a mission trip, they came back and said, Dad, we like America. You just don't know the blessing that you have here. But we got to share that story. Yes, young lady, you're next.
I think all of us would agree that this country is going down politically. As Christians, what should we do?
Well, first and foremost, you need to get engaged. You need to get involved. People are in the elected offices only because they're elected. By who? There's a great quote from the Greek philosopher Plato. Plato said, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you shall be governed by your inferiors. How many people here are 18? You know, 3 weeks ago, I met a young man up in Jr., Ohio, who was 26 years of age. He had already been a 2-term mayor of the city. And I figured that out. At 18, he was on city council. And then he went on to become a mayor at 19. I served 2 terms as a mayor. Because he was bold. And he was a Christian. And he said, I'm not going to sit back here and have anyone tell me I have to wait my turn. That's what I'm telling you all to do. What did I say, young lady? Come with that 5-year plan. Where do you want to be 5 years from now? And that's what he did. So what do we need to do? As a body of Christ, we need to stand up and be bold. That starts with you. Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do. What I say every day, you can either be a victor or you can be a victim. That young man decided that he would become an elected official. and he would be governed by godly principles. And now, he is running to be on the school board. The most important elected position in the United States of America is school board. I'd love to see some of you young people be on your local school board to make a determination about what we're going to teach future generations. Next row.
Yes, sir. I was just wondering, my name is Hunter Phipps, and I was wondering, what advice would you give to people who are currently going through trials right now?
What advice would I give to people who are currently going through trials right now? First and foremost, I will tell you to go and meditate on this. That's what God told Joshua, to meditate upon this day and night. Do not turn from it from the right or to the left. And I just told you, every single day, 16 and 33. Okay? You will have tribulations, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. So find yourself on your knees. Now, the other thing I want you to do, how many people here, young people, how many of y'all have a battle buddy? You know what I mean about battle buddy? Your ace, boo, cool, your running partner. Someone's going to be there for you, thick and thin. A prayer partner. Huh? How many of y'all do? We used to call them foxhole buddies. Okay? There's some people that I would want to be in a foxhole with. There's some people that I don't want to be in a foxhole with. Okay? I don't want to be in a foxhole with somebody that when it's their turn to stay and watch, they're going to fall asleep. Next thing you know, we wake up dead. So what I want you to do is find a battle buddy. I want you to find someone that's going to be a prayer warrior. Someone's going to be there for you. Thick and thin, good and bad, okay? That's what you got to have, young people. You can't make it by yourself. But you got the greatest resource ever. You got the greatest leadership book right here, ever. All you got to do is be bold enough to embrace this and follow. And when people call you names, Jesus freak or whatever, just say, yo, man, what I got, you wish you had. Okay? That's what you got to do. And press on. It says that in Philippians chapter 3. I press on toward the upward call. That's what I want you to do. So you got this, man. In an ambush, let me tell you what they teach you in the military. When you're in an ambush, do you just sit there in the ambush? No. You know what you do when you find yourself in an ambush? This is what military tactics teach you. You fight through it. If you sit in an ambush, you're going to die. When you come up to that trial and tribulation, you fight. The devil don't want you to fight back. But that's what you got to do. And folks, if the devil is comfortable with you, then you ain't bold. I'm going to say this, and hopefully God and the grown-ups don't get mad at me. But every single day you got to piss the devil off. Okay? You got to make him mad. You got to tell him, it ain't happening here. We used to say down south, that dog don't hunt. That's what you got to tell the devil. And that's the only way he's going to flee away from you. It said when he comes at you, you come at him, you smack that rascal. You beat him down, you stomp him. But you can't do it unless you're bold. Can't do it unless you got that resource.